Hi everyone, this is your video on Chapter 1, The Essentials of Geometry, Lesson 1.1. At the top of your notebook, since this is your first day of notes for Chapter 1, I want you to title it Chapter 1, Essentials of Geometry, and then title this specific lesson from today, 1.1, I will be able to name geometric figures. We expect that your notes look like that so that they're labeled so that you can easily find things in your notes to be able to use them on your homework, quizzes, and tests. Once you have your notebook labeled with the chapter and the lesson number, you're going to want to set up your notebook for today to look like this. You're going to want to use an entire page of your notebook to build this table. To start geometry, there are 8 terms that we need to learn. The terms are written out for you. We're going to give you a definition for each, show you how to label them, draw a picture, and then name them. So you're going to want to take a full page of your notebook to set up this table and leave space for each of these things. Leave a little extra space for the definition section since there's more to write down there. So it should look like this with 5 columns going down and then 9 rows. The title row that says term, definition, how to label, picture, and name, and then the 8 vocabulary words: point, line, plane, collinear, coplanar, segment, ray, and opposite ray. Pause the video here until you're ready to move on and your chart is set to go. The first word we need to understand for geometry is point. A point is a location in space that has no dimension. We label a point with a capital letter, for example, the letter M, and then we would just call it point M. Next is a line. A line extends forever in 2 directions and it is one-dimensional. Any 2 points on a line can be used to label the line with the line symbol on top. So for example, I could call this line JK. Alternatively, I could also call this line KJ, and that would be an equally correct name. Next, plane. A plane extends forever in all directions. It's a 2-dimensional surface. We name a plane 2 different ways, either by using any 3 points on the plane that are not in a straight line, or 1 cursive letter located in the corner. So for example, I could call this plane Geo, G-E-O, since G, E, and O are 3 different points on the plane that are not in a straight line. Or I could call it plane T. Notice I used a cursive font for the T to show that T is not a point. There's no point next to it, but it's just the name of the overall plane. If we were all sitting together in a room, we could think of ourselves as individual points sitting on the floor. 2 of us who were connected in a straight line could form a line, and all of us together sitting on the same surface form a plane. Pause here, make sure you have the definition, how to label, picture, and name for each of the first 3 words. Next is collinear. Collinear, co means with, so collinear are 3 or more points that all lie together on the same line. There's no specific way to label this. For your picture, draw a straight line with 3 or more points on it. And the way that I would name that is just by saying in a sentence that points A, B, and C are collinear. Next is coplanar. Similarly, coplanar is 4 or more points that all lie on the same plane. Again, there's no way to label it. The picture is a picture of a plane with at least 4 points in it. I chose points D, E, F, and G. And then how I label that is I would say the sentence points D, E, F, and G are coplanar. Pause here until you're ready to move on to the next words. Next is segment. A segment is a part of a line that has a beginning and an end. Notice that it has 2 specific endpoints. So instead of arrows at the end of this picture, there are 2 specific points at C and R. I can label this line segment CR with the segment symbol above it, or alternatively, I can put the letters in the other order as well and call it RC. Next, array is part of a line. It has a beginning, an initial starting point, and it goes forever in just one direction. An initial point and one other point with the ray symbol is how we would label the ray. This particular ray starts with its initial point at J and continues on through S. In the case of the ray, that's the only way to call this ray is J, then S, because the starting point is at J. I could not call this ray SJ like I could flip around the letters for segment and line. The rays can only go in one direction. Finally, we can have two rays together that are called opposite rays. Opposite rays are two rays that go in opposite or different directions with a common initial starting point. In the picture, you can see that the ray that is purple that goes from E to M and the ray that is orange that goes from E to W are opposites, both starting at E. They are labeled using the common initial point E and one other point, so I called them EW and EM. Notice I can tell they're opposite rays because they both started with the letter E. Pause here, make sure you have all the definitions as well as their pictures, how to label them, and their names before moving on to the examples. For this example, you're going to want to draw this picture, and then there are 7 questions that accompany it, 5 on this page and 2 on the next. Pause now to draw this picture out so that you can answer the following examples. I will show the answers on the next page, but pause here to make sure you have the picture and that you give yourself a chance to fill in the blanks first. The only way you're going to learn from these videos is if you give yourself a chance to practice and actually do the math instead of just fast forwarding to the answers. Let's talk about them. The first says points H, I, and F. Here I can see that points H, I, and F are in a straight line. I'm going to use my highlighter tool to show that. So I can see H, I, and F are right here in a straight line together. They form both a line segment that is a part of a line with 2 endpoints, in this case H and F. They are also collinear because they are 3 or more points that lie on the same line. For number 2, I'm going to go ahead and look at points E, B, and C. I'm going to use a different color highlighter so that you can see that I'm looking at E, B, and C for number 2. These 3 points are not in the same line, but they are all on the same plane, the sort of right-hand side of our box. So I'm going to call E, B, and C coplanar. Question 3 relates to the exact same plane, plane BCD. Remember, a plane only needs to be labeled by 3 points, but it can contain more than 3. So plane BCD also contains point E. Those 4 points make up the entire right side of the box. I'm going to switch highlighter colors and take a look at the next question. Plane HAB. Plane HAB is the front of the box. Where does that intersect with plane AGC? Plane AGC is the bottom of the box. So the front of the box and the bottom of the box intersect at line segment AB. That's where this front plane and the bottom plane, front side and bottom side, intersect, is in line segment A to B. Question number 5 asks us something similar. It asks where plane FDE, which is the top of the box, intersects EBC, which is that right side of the box. So the top of the box and the right side of the box intersect right here at line D to E. Notice that for DE and AB, they're both line segments, so I use the line segment symbol above them when I labeled them. Pause here, make sure you have all the answers written in. Feel free to label and color code your notes. This is something that I would encourage you to do in class, so I would encourage you to do it when you are learning from videos as well. Here are the next final 2 examples, number 6 and number 7. This is the exact same picture, so you do not need to redraw it. Give yourself some time here and pause the video to try and answer these two questions before moving on to the answers. For question 6, we're looking at points that are coplanar. The ones that I know about are H, E, and I. H, E, and I are all at the top of the box, so the other points that are coplanar with H, E, and I would either be F or D. Either answer is correct. For 6b, let's use a different color. 6b asks about B, C, and G. B, C, and G are all at the bottom of the box. Another point that is on the bottom of the box and therefore coplanar with them is point A. Let's look at H, F, and E. H, F, and E were on the top of the box, H, F, and E. So if I'm looking at all the points that are not coplanar with H, F, and E, I'm going to look, since H, F, and E are at the top of the box, notice that this one says non-coplanar. So perhaps I should actually use the blue highlighter color, would make more sense here. So non-coplanar with H, F, and E would be all the blue points, in this case A, B, C, and G. Next, for 7b, we're looking at H, B, and E. We'll notice that H, B, and E are at the front of the box. So for 7b, H, B, and E, which are at the front of the box, if I want the ones that are not coplanar with them, I want all the ones that are at the back of the box, which includes C, D, F, G, as well as this point in the middle here, I, which is not coplanar with either the front or the back of the box. Finally, let's look at 7c. 7c tells us to look at D, C, and G. Notice D, C, and G are all at the back of the box, so any points that are not coplanar with D, C, and G at the back of the box will be at the front of the box. So that includes points A, B, E, H, and then again that middle point I that is not at the front or back of the box. This has been your 1.1 I will be able to name geometric figures video. Go back through the video and make sure you have a completed table of vocabulary as well as completed examples, and then begin the 1.1 homework assignment.